The wreckage smoldered against the rust-cold landscape of KTH-7. Its twisted metal reflecting the binary suns in a kaleidoscope of orange and red. Kakamura adjusted his environmental suit and approached the crashed vessel cautiously. His salvage scanner beeping steady. Warnings. Nothing moved in the debris field, but something about the silence felt wrong, too complete, too absolute. A Drari fighter. Kai's heart quickened. These weren't ships you stumbled upon. They were death sentences. The Drari were known throughout the galaxy as unstoppable killing machines. Their very name whispered in fear across dozens of species. Finding one of their ships usually meant you had seconds to live. But the scanner showed something unusual. A single life sign, weak and fatting. Kai crept closer, his hand instinctively moving to the plasma cutter on his belt. Through a jagged tear in the hull he caught movement, something large struggling. The life sign wasn't human. Wasn't anything friendly. It had to be a Drakari warrior. Just walk away, he muttered to himself. Not your problem, Nakamura. But his feet kept moving forward. His grandmother had always said his curiosity would get him killed. Someday. Looked like today might be that day. Inside the destroyed cockpit he found her 7 feet of scaled muscle and razor-sharp claws. The Drari warrior was trapped in her own armor. The impact had triggered some kind of malfunction. The chest plate had contracted, locking her in a crushing embrace that prevented proper breathing. Her breathing was shallow, rasping, desperate. Her yellow eyes snapped to him, pupils dilating. Even in her weakened state she radiated menace. Human, she growled, her voice like grinding stone. The word dripped with contempt and something else, hope. Kai froze. Every instinct screamed at him to run. Drachnari had killed countless human. Stories of their brutality filled military reports and civilian nightmares alike. But looking at her now, seeing the pain contorting her features and the fear she was trying to hide, all he saw was a being in mortal danger. Don't move, she gasped between labored breaths, armor-crushing lungs. He should run. He should call for military backup. He should do anything but what he was about to do. Instead, Kai knelt beside her, pulling out his tools. Easy there, I'm going to help you. Her claws extended reflexively, stopping inches from his throat. Why? The word came out strangled, confused. Because you're dying and I can't watch anyone die when I might be able to help. His hands moved to the armor seals, fighting to keep steady despite her proximity. Besides, even a Drari deserves to breathe. She studied him through pain-hazed eyes, then slowly retracted her claws. You're insane, human. Been told that before. Kai found the first release mechanism still partially functional. What's your name, Vexera? She whispered, her voice softer now. And you? Kai, now hold still. This is going to be delicate work, and that armor likes you about as much as it likes me right now. As he worked, Vexera's breathing grew more labored. Each seal release brought a little more relief, but also revealed more of her injuries. Through the torn armor he could see deep gashes, some still bleeding. She'd been in a serious fight before the crash. Almost there, he murmured, more to reassure himself than her just need to. The final seal released with a hiss, and the chest plate fell away. Vexera sucked in a massive breath, her entire body convulsing with the effort. Her eyes rolled back briefly, then focused on him with startling clarity. For a moment neither of them moved. She was free, he was vulnerable, and everything either of their species had been taught said this moment should end with his death. Instead, Vexera just breathed. Vexera's chest rose and fell in deep, grateful breaths. The contrast between her near-death struggle moments ago and her current relief was stark. Kai watched her carefully, his hands still resting on the discarded armor plating, ready to move if she attacked. Better, he asked, though the answer was obvious from the way her previously labored breathing had steadied. She nodded, her yellow eyes studying him with an intensity that made him uncomfortable. You should have left me probably. Kai opened his field medkit, but I didn't. What happened up there? Ambush, she said, wincing as she tried to sit up. Kai gently pressed her back down. Your people knew we were coming. Pirates working with human military contractors took out my squadron before we knew what hit us. Kai paused, antiseptic swab in hand. My people. I'm not military, I'm just a salvage tech. All humans are the enemy, she said, but there was less conviction in her voice. Now that's what we're taught from hatching, and all Drari are mindless killers. Kai replied, beginning to clean a particularly nasty gash on her side. That's what we're taught in school. Funny how neither of those things seems true right now, she hissed as the antiseptic hit the wound, her claws involuntarily extending. Kai didn't flinch, continuing his work with steady hands. After a moment, she forced her claws to retract. I've never met a human who wasn't trying to kill me, Vexor admitted, and I've never met a Drakari who wasn't in battle armor trying to kill humans. He applied a pressure bandage. Maybe we're both learning something today. They worked in relative silence for a while, Kai treating her wounds while Vexora gathered her strength. The twin suns were beginning to set, casting long shadows across the wreckage. Your ship, Kai said finally, is it salvageable? Vexora turned her head to look at the twisted metal around them. The core is intact if we can bypass the damaged systems. Kai raised an eyebrow. She fixed him with a steady gaze. You saved my life, Kakamura. By Drari law, I owe you a life debt. Until that debt is paid, I am bound to you. I didn't do it for a debt. Nevertheless, she struggled to sit up, and this time Kai helped her also. Stranded together on a hostile world. Neither of our people anywhere near practical considerations aside from honor. Kai found himself smiling despite the situation. Fair point. All right, let's see what we can do about that ship. Working side by side, they began assessing the damage. Vexor's technical knowledge was impressive. Her people might be known as warriors, but they were also skilled engineers. Kai found himself genuinely enjoying the collaboration as they identified systems that could be repaired. This console here, Vexor pointed, if we can reroute power from the secondary batteries, we can bypass the damaged primary systems. Kai finished. Your people use interesting tech, more elegant than I expected. And your people's jury rigging techniques are creative, she replied, something that might have been humor in her voice. As the last of the suns disappeared below the horizon, they had established a working plan for the repairs. The temperature began to drop rapidly, and Kai noticed Vexora shivering despite her thick scales. Cold? He asked. Drari body temperature runs higher than human without my armor's environmental controls, she trailed off without thinking. Kai moved closer, sharing body heat. Vexora tensed for a moment, then relaxed. This is unusual, she murmured. Which part? The attempted repair, the inter-species cooperation, or the cuddling? All of it. She was quiet for a moment. My name means star taker in our language. I have 17 confirmed human kills. My brood siblings call me the Red Claw because of how I finish my enemies, and my last name means middle village in an ancient Earth language. Kai replied, I've repaired exactly 0 Drakari ships and have never been in combat. Seems we're both doing something new today. Vexora made a sound that might have been laughter. New, she repeated. Yes, this is very new. As the alien night settled around them, they sat in comfortable silence, the warmth of their proximity a stark contrast to the hostile environment outside. Tomorrow would bring repairs, challenges, and the reality of their situation, but for now they had this moment, a human and a Drari sharing warmth and finding unexpected understanding in the wreckage of war. The next morning brought the harsh light of KTH-7's twin suns and the reality of Their task Kai woke first surprised to find Vexra still leaning against him, her breathing deep, and even her scales felt warm and surprisingly smooth against his skin. He carefully extracted himself without waking her, then went to check their supplies. Water would be the first concern. His suit's recycling system could support one person for several days, but with Vexra's larger frame and higher metabolic rate, calculating our chances of survival. Her voice came from behind him, something like that. He turned to see her examining the damage to her ship's hull. How are you feeling? Better than I should, considering. She ran her claws along a seam in the metal. Your medical knowledge is adequate. High praise from a warrior race, Kai said dryly. We are not just warriors, Vexra corrected, a hint of irritation in her voice. I have 3 degrees in applied engineering. My clutch sister is a philosopher. My brood father writes poetry. Kai paused in his inventory. Poetry? Surprised. Do humans think they alone contemplate beauty? She was definitely irritated. Now we have art, literature, music. Our war with your kind represents barely a fraction of our culture. You're right. I'm sorry. He set down his scanner. We're both carrying a lot of assumptions, aren't we? Her expression softened. Yes, on my home world we have gardens that have been tended for thousands of your years, sculptors whose work can bring a warrior to tears. How much do you know of this? Nothing, Kai admitted. We only hear about raids, battles, ships lost, and I know nothing of human art, human dreams. Vexra moved to the damaged console. Yet here we both are trying to fix a ship with engineering principles that shouldn't be so similar. Mathematics is universal, Kai said, joining her, and apparently so is the tendency to over-engineer power couplings that sound that might be. Laughter came again. The lead designer of our fleet ships is notorious for that. Sometimes I think he deliberately makes repairs more difficult. We had an instructor who used to say the same thing about human ship designers. Kai handed her a tool. Maybe it's a universal trait among engineers. They work through the morning, their conversation flowing from technical details to personal stories. Kai learned that Vexra had been raised by her brood father after her mother died in the early days of the human conflict. She wasn't the mindless killer he'd imagined, but someone shaped by loss and duty. In return, he shared stories of his own childhood on the frontier colonies, his father's death in a pirate raid, his choice to become a salvage tech rather than join the military. You could have been a soldier, Vexra said during a break. Why salvage? Because fixing things makes more sense than breaking them. Kai wiped sweat from his forehead. Though I never expected to be fixing a dreary ship. Life takes unexpected paths. She adjusted a connection and the console flickered to life. Progress. Nice work. Without thinking, Kai reached out to steady the connection, and his hand brushed against hers. They both froze. The touch lasted only a moment, but something passed between them, an awareness, an acknowledgement of their proximity, their shared situation, and something more, something neither wanted to name, but both felt. Vexra pulled her hand back slowly. We should continue working. Right? Yes, work. Kai busied himself with the next component, but he could feel her presence more acutely now. Every movement seemed deliberate, careful not to create another accidental touch, yet somehow creating a charged anticipation as the day wore on. They settled into a rhythm. Hand me that tool. Hold this steady, duck, while I reach over you. Each interaction professionally necessary, yet laden with growing awareness. Kai, Vexra said late in the afternoon, her voice different somehow. What happens when we get this ship working? He paused in his work. It was a question he'd been avoiding. I don't know. You'll need to return to your people. I have a beacon that will summon salvage crews eventually, and then we become enemies again. The thought created an unexpected ache in his chest. I suppose that's how it should work. How It's always worked should work, she repeated, but what if we don't want it to work that way? Kai set down his tools and turned to face her fully. She was looking at him with those predatory yellow eyes. But there was something else there now. Something softer, more uncertain. What are you saying? Vexera, I'm saying that for the first time in my adult life I've met someone from another species that I don't want to kill, someone who perhaps I'd like to know better. She paused, seeming to gather her courage. Someone who makes me question everything I've been taught about humans. You make me question things too, Kai admitted. Important things about war, about enemies, about what's possible. The silence between them felt heavy with possibility. Then Vexera moved closer. Deliberately this time. Show me, she said simply. The request hung in the air between them, heavy with implication. Kai's heart raced, but not from fear this time. Show you what? He asked, though he suspected he knew. Show me what it means to be more than enemies. Vexera's voice was soft, her usual commanding tone replaced by something vulnerable. I've never with anyone outside my species. Neither have I, Kai admitted. He took a step forward, closing the distance between them. Are you sure? Instead of answering, she reached out slowly, giving him time to pull away if he wanted. Her clawed hand touched his cheek with surprising gentleness. Your skin, she murmured, so soft. We're taught humans are weak, but I think perhaps we're confused about what strength means. Kai covered her hand with his own. And I was taught your kind feel no emotion beyond rage. Also seems like bad intel, very bad intel. Her other hand found his waist, drawing him closer. May I kiss you, Kakamura? He answered by leaning in, their lips meeting in a kiss that was tentative at first, then deeper as they both gave into the moment. Her scales were warm against his skin, her embrace surprisingly tender despite her strength. When they broke apart, both were breathing heavily. This is probably the stupidest thing I've ever done, Kai said, resting his forehead against hers. Same, Vexera agreed. Do you want to stop? No, do you? Absolutely not. What followed was a gradual exploration. Two beings discovering how different bodies could find harmony. They moved to the relatively clean corner of the ship they'd cleared, where emergency blankets provided some comfort against the metal floor. Vexera was gentle despite her formidable strength, cognizant of her claws and careful with her powerful embrace. Kai marveled at the play of muscles beneath her scales, the way her body responded to his touch. For all their physical differences, the language of desire proved remarkably universal. You're beautiful, Kai whispered against her throat. I am a warrior, she replied, but there was pleasure in her voice. You're both there. Love-making was slow, exploratory, punctuated by whispered reassurances and shared laughter at the awkwardness of their different anatomies, but they found their rhythm built on trust and growing affection rather than just physical need. Afterward they lay tangled together, her scales providing warmth in the cooling evening air. This changes things, Vexera said quietly. Everything, Kai agreed. We can't just pretend this didn't happen. We can't tell anyone either. My people would consider this the highest form of betrayal. They'd probably execute us both. Mine wouldn't be much more understanding. Kai traced patterns on her arm. So what do we do? Vexer was quiet for a long moment. We finish fixing the ship, we survive, and then we find a way to keep this to keep us. Her voice was fierce now, determined. I don't care about the politics or the war or what our people think. I care about you. Is that insane? Probably. Kai kissed her shoulder. But I care about you too, more than I should after knowing you for less than 2 days. Our people have been at war for decades. Vexer amused. What if it's because we never truly tried to understand each other? What if there's a better way? You want to end the war. I want to give peace a chance. She sat up, energized. We could be proof that it's Possible that we're not so different, Kai. Considered this, it was a wild idea. Dangerous beyond measure it could get. Them both killed, their governments would never officially sanction such a relationship, but looking at her, this incredible being who trusted him enough to be vulnerable, he felt something shift. Inside him, this wasn't just passion or rebellion, this was hope. Okay, he said. Let's do it, let's find a way to make this work. Vexor's smile was radiant. You realize we're about to commit treason against our respective species. Wouldn't be the first stupid thing I've done this week. He kissed her, but definitely the best. They spent the night making plans, punctuated by kisses and gentle touches. By morning they had the outline of something audacious, secret communications, coded messages, a network of contacts on both sides who might be open to peace talks. It'll be years before we can be open about this, Vexora warned. I can wait, Kai said. If I get to hear your voice across the stars, I can wait and see me again. That too. Every chance we can make happen. As the twin suns rose, they turned back to the ship repairs with renewed urgency. The sooner they got Vexor back to her people, the sooner they could begin working toward a future where love across species wasn't treason, just love. 6 months later, Kai stared at his encrypted communication device, watching the indicator light pulse with an incoming message. His heart raced the way it did every time, with anticipation, fear, and something deeper. Meet me, neutral space. Coordinates. Following the message was brief, but Vexora's signature was unmistakable. He'd been working salvage operations near the crash nebula, strategically positioning himself for this possibility. Their previous 3 meetings had been in different locations, each time risking everything for a few precious hours together. The coordinates placed them near an abandoned station in unclaimed space, dangerous but romantic in its own way. 2 days later, Kai's salvage ship docked with the derelict station. Vexora's fighter was already there. Unmarked and running silent, she emerged from the airlock wearing civilian clothes, the first time he'd seen her in anything but armor, or nothing at all. Kai, the relief in her voice matched his own feelings. Vexora, he took her hands, marveling again at how right this felt. This is getting more dangerous, everything, as she pulled him into an embrace. My commanding officer is suspicious. Yours the same. I've been taking more risks to get these salvage assignments. Eventually someone's going to notice the pattern. They moved deeper into the station, finding a compartment that still had atmosphere and power. Kai had brought food, water, blankets, the necessities for maintaining their secret life. I have news, Vexa said once they were settled. There's a faction within our military, high-ranking officers who are questioning the war they're interested in. Dialogue same on our side. There have been closed-door sessions in the Senate. Debates about the cost of this conflict. It's still not enough, she said. Frustration evident. Too many on both sides profit from the fighting. That's why we have to keep proving it's possible. Kai took her face in his hands. We're proof that Drari and humans can be more than enemies. Are we though, or are we just 2 individuals caught in something impossible? He heard the doubt in her voice, the weight of the secret they carried. You're right, we might be fooling ourselves, he admitted, but isn't trying better than accepting that nothing can change. She leaned into his touch. I dreamed of you last night in the dream. We walked openly on my home world, no hiding, no fear, just us. I had the same dream, different setting, same feeling. Perhaps dreams are where all impossible things begin. The next 3 days passed too quickly. They made love with the urgency of borrowed time, talked about everything and nothing, and built their impossible plans. By day they worked on their respective networks, gathering names of those who might support change. By night they held each other, trying to compress months of longing into hours of connection on their last day together. They found an observation deck with a view of the nebula, the cosmic clouds. Swirled in brilliant colors, beautiful and strange. How do we know when to stop hiding? Vixer asked, her head on his shoulder. Maybe when enough people are ready for what we represent. Kai kissed her temple. Or maybe we force the issue. Declare our relationship publicly and let the political chips fall. That's a death sentence for both of us, maybe. Or maybe it's the shock both our sides need. They were quiet for a while, watching the nebula's slow dance. I love you, Vexera said the first time either had spoken the words I love you too. The admission felt like jumping off a cliff, terrifying and liberating. I think I loved you the moment you let me save your life instead of killing me for it, and I loved you when you started calling my people's over-engineering habits creative solutions. They laughed together, the sound echoing in the empty station too. Soon they had to part, tearful exchanges of final kisses, promises to be careful, desperate plans for when they might meet again. 2 months, Kai said, typing new coordinates into both their systems. If something goes wrong, if either of us can't make it, wait 1 full day. Don't take unnecessary risks. You're the one who takes unnecessary risks, she pointed out. I'm the sensible one who only threatens humans, not helps them. Times change, people change, some things don't. She took his hand one last time. My feelings for you won't change no matter how long we have to wait. Mine either. 1 year later, the breakthrough came. A human diplomatic convoy was attacked by pirates while entering Drari space. 3 Drakari ships responded to their distress call, turning the tide of battle. It was unprecedented, enemy ships saving each other. The resulting dialogue led to the first official peace talks in 30 years. The talks almost failed, broken down by entrenched positions and old hatreds. That's when Kai received the message, time for Plan B. Are you ready? He sent back a single word, yes. 2 days into the stalled negotiations, Kakamura and Vexera of the Star Taker Clutch walked into the conference room together. Hands intertwined, the room erupted. Shouts of betrayal, threats, demands for explanations, but they stood firm. Kai in his salvage tech uniform, Vexera in her ceremonial warrior garb. We represent proof that cooperation is possible, Kai announced to the assembly. For 18 months we've worked together, cared for each other, and shared intelligence that helped prevent 3 major conflicts. Our relationship began as an accident, Vexera continued, her voice carrying the authority of her warrior status, but it's become the foundation for believing that our species can build something better than endless war. The negotiations that followed were harsh, heated, and revolutionary, but 2 years later the first permanent peace treaty between humans and Drakari was signed. Kai and Vexera were married in a ceremony that mixed human and Drari traditions, officiated by representatives from both governments. It was broadcast across the galaxy, a signal that change was not just possible but already happening. Do you think this is what we were meant to do? Vexera asked on their wedding night, looking out at the stars from their new home on the neutral station that had been converted into the first interspecies diplomatic center. I think we were meant to meet, Kai replied. Everything else was just what we chose to do with that opportunity. Good choice, then. The best. He kissed her, tasting the future in her smile, ready for the next adventure with you always above them. The stars looked down on a universe that was a little less afraid, a little more hopeful, and somewhere in the cosmic dance 2 hearts beat in rhythm, proof that love could transcend species, culture, and even war itself. The story of the human salvage tech and the Drari warrior became legend, a reminder that the most profound changes often begin not with grand gestures or political declarations, but with a single choice to see the person behind the uniform, the heart behind the scales, and the possibility within the impossible.